Hi guys, we are back. This time I'm
Hi.
with Dan, who's part of the pocket-sized hands studio. Hello Dan,
Hello.
how are you doing today?
Doing good, yeah. What about yourself?
I'm doing absolutely amazing. Thank you so much. So, your studio, where did it come from? Where did it begin? What position have you taken to sort of start the studio? Were you there from
Oh,
the beginning, or just get us started?
oh man, where did we start? So honestly like we started as a third year, back in university. We started off as like this very small group of like five students, and it was our third year project, and we wanted to make something great, a really cool like VR experience. So
Mhm.
we had big dreams of hey, let's make something awesome, let's make something cool in VR, because everyone was very hyped about VR and stuff
Yeah,
like that during the time. And so we started developing this idea like um, of Honeypot Espionage, which is just like a stealth game. So there was a lot of inspiration that came from Team Fortress 2,
hmm
um, and we wanted to bring this project further than just having it solely like our university
I
project.
see.
And then were introduced to Transfuser,
Before we
and
get to
yeah,
Tranzfuser, should I perhaps play a pre-alpha footage
yeah,
that
go
we have
ahead,
prepared
yeah.
for us? Okay, so here we go, guys. This is gonna be the pre-alpha footage of the honeypot espionage, which was so the pre-alpha. Can you give us like a timeline? When was the pre-alpha finished? Was it at the end of uni, or when was the pre-alpha build recorded? Like in terms of timeline for the studio.
So this was in 2017. We only had a couple of months to work on the pre-alpha,
hmm
um, and we didn't have that much time at all to do it. So I
Okay.
think it was just a few months. I don't remember precisely how long, but um, I all I remember was it was quite rushed, but it was also fun at the same time. We just wanted to like get this going, this cool idea out there,
Okay.
kind of thing.
Let's roll the clip.
Yeah.
Let's roll the clip. Oh, before we roll the clip, let's make sure it is big enough for people to see. Ta-ta-ta. So this was a VR experience, and you were trying to pretty much create something that was heavily inspired by Team Fortress 2, correct?
Yes, correct.
What when you were getting started on the project, what was the most challenging thing to put the concept into this VR space?
um, for us, it was figuring out this for me personally. This was the very first time I got to work on VR, so I had no idea how like art assets were meant to work in terms of VR, how optimized things should be, or how you set things up and stuff.
Mhm.
So it was definitely like a big sort of like deep dive into the world of VR, project kind of thing for us.
Mhm.
For the technical side of things, there was a few challenges that we faced. Networking was one of them. Our programmers worked very hard on getting things set up and
Mhm.
going. Um, the thing that we mostly focused on was the game mechanics itself. So
Mhm.
the whole concept of like if you stay still, you become invisible,
Okay.
and if you move, you start to appear, and other people can see you and
Mhm.
shoot you, kind of thing.
Yeah, that's cool. I
Yeah.
think it's a very simple mechanic, but just as just like Tom said in our previous chat we had with Antler Studios, now it seems like um, it's like a pattern of like a recommendation, right? To focus on the core mechanic, right? What does that make
Yes.
the game this game? What can this game not exist without? And you focused on it, which I think is great. So you created the pre-alpha, and you went with the pre-alpha to Transfuser. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so how was the process of taking it from the pre-alpha to, well, to what became a much more developed project. How was that? How was that jump? How was the experience of trying to become a studio rather than just making a game?
Well, we had to take away our mindset from just being sort of like, or taking the project sort of just like a student project, and more into the
Mhm.
mindset of like, this is like a studio project
Yeah.
now. And pushing that forward, we had to be more serious with like the time we spend on working on tasks that we need to do in order to get the game looking from like very rough pre-alpha to more populated in the scene, more polished mechanics, visually just make it all work better together, kind of thing.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, we did time scheduling for ourselves, and you know like getting ourselves more comfortable with each
Mhm.
other,
Yeah,
even
I see.
getting to work closer.
Mhm.
Because when we were just working on pre-alpha, it was very we were more distant from one
Mhm.
another in terms of like the team. And then things got more serious
Yeah,
when Transfuser came along, and we wanted to make this happen, sort of thing.
I see. So, in terms of like funding through the transfuser, did you manage to be successful in your funding, or did you also take a route like Antler Studios did with more of the outsourced funding? How did that go for you?
We ended up going for outsource funding
Hmm.
instead, so we did work for hire. Um, Instead, post transfuser. So we started off with having this little mobile game that we made called Hypothalamus Hunt, and from there we paid ourselves part time.
Before we
And
move on to that game,
yeah,
in the
yeah.
timeline, what happened with the honeypot espionage? Did you leave the project after transfuser as just a portfolio piece?
Yes. So
Hmm.
we left the project as a portfolio piece for
Hmm.
ourselves, um, which it was a very nice like piece of project that we
Hmm.
were able to showcase around, from friends to family to like possible clients,
Hmm.
just looking for work for hire and stuff like that. Just
Awesome.
putting ourselves out there.
Right, I'm gonna play the trailer to let people see the fruits of your work, of your hard work through the transfuser, and yeah, it's interesting to hear how I'm sort of trying to digest the information you gave me about as a team you had to in a way almost like regroup, right? And see this project for what it is, and think about it in a more professional manner, right? Because there you are trying to make it happen. It's like you said, it's no longer a uni project. You
Yeah.
you are trying to get funded for it. It's hard work you're putting in. Okay, so here we got the trailer playing. Uh, huge difference in terms of 3D assets.
Oh yeah.
Plenty of progress there. So you used Unreal Engine. Was there a reason why you opted for that engine and not the other? And how using an engine helped you with like technical development of the game?
So Unreal provided us with like quite a bit of tools that made creation of this game smoother and easier. Namely, when it came to like networking specifically as well. Um, from the art side of things, most of the team were more familiar with creating assets for Unreal Engine itself.
Mhm.
So because it was more known to us, we went along with Unreal Engine instead of other possible engines that we could have gone for.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. Go with something that you're comfortable with, right?
Yeah,
Play to your advantage and just go with it. That's great. So you looked for outsourced work. Now we can continue with the with what you were saying. Apologies for stopping you there. You mentioned you released a mobile game, yeah?
yeah. So we worked on Hypothalamus Hunt, which is
Hmm.
this small mobile game that's filled with like several mini games, and from there we were able to pay ourselves part time. but we also worked full time.
Mhm.
Um, and after about 6 months, more or less, we then landed Driving Vision, which is an architectural sort of like software
Mhm.
that we made. So we used games tech from that point, and it was one of the first VR tools for CAD that we've developed,
I see.
um, and that led us to be funded for about a year then. So that was really good for us to jump kickstart with.
That's very interesting. It's a really contrasting approach to what we've had in the other interview. What I'm hearing from you, Dan, is how you took the technical skill to help stay afloat as a studio. Uh, Use that skill to really get the income, stay afloat, and remain as a studio going forward, which I think is great. It's actually quite inspiring to work on yourself, right?
Yeah.
To gain stuff in the to make it in the games careers, right? So what came after that?
So for after we did Driving Vision,
Mhm.
we then had the chance to make a Dish Live, which we recently got awarded for as well.
Huge,
Um,
congratulations.
thank you.
That's awesome.
Yeah, Cambridge came around and pitched, and we had this idea of making Dish Live as a educational game.
Okay.
Teaching people about cells. So we worked on it for a while,
Mhm.
and then we rolled into contracts with local companies as well.
Right.
Yeah, and now we have a much bigger team. So from that point on, it was like we had work for hire, and then our team expanded and expanded. So we went from like
Oh, I
five
see.
people to then having 10 people
10 people.
in our staff. Yeah,
Nice, nice. I mean,
doubled the
that's
amount.
great. Yeah, congratulations on your growth. And it honestly sounds like a snowball effect, right? You've put in the effort. You showcased your skills. You kept building up a portfolio, and eventually, with the release of Dish Life, which you got an award for, you just kept on going. So with the Dish Life, I'm gonna play a trailer for our viewers to get an idea of what the game is about.
Yeah.
Here we go. So could you just touch on, was it in association with a university? It was in the start of the trailer.
Yes. So this is in association with Cambridge University.
Hmm.
They wanted to showcase about the educational about teaching people how what stem cells are, and sort of game. We wanted to gamify about how you would go about raising stem cells and such. And while this is the core gameplay of it, there's also side things such as social sort of issues that you tackle as you yourself play as the manager of your lab. So you've got your other scientists in the lab that you have to manage,
Hmm.
and the social issues that come up as well at the same time.
I see. I think it creates a nice gameplay loop, right? Because you are not just creating these stem cells. There is other stuff you have to manage outside of it,
Yeah.
which I think adds onto the gameplay. And I'm not sure, but one of your team members might actually remember me. But I had the opportunity to test your game, test the Dish Life before it was released, and yeah, it's a great game. Anyone who has a chance, opportunity, go into the App Store and I would say check it out while you can. If you got some time at your hands, it's a good game. It's a great game. Yeah,
Go for it.
yeah, absolutely. It's really enjoyable. Creating cells, I never thought being a scientist can be that fun. If cells
Yeah.
were as cute in real life as they are in that game, I might end up a scientist, you know?
Oh, same. Like that's probably my most favorite bit about it. Like the cells are so cute.
Yeah, it's definitely makes it a memorable thing. So yeah, So what after you created Dish Life, we can sort of jump back in on the process of the studio growing. So when you mentioned you were hiring more people, and that the team is growing to up to 10 people at the moment, yeah.
Yeah.
So what's the goal for the 10 people that you got at hand right now? What are you guys working on?
So there's been a few projects that we've worked on since
Hmm.
Dish Live. Some of them were more bespoke software, but we're wanting to focus more onto games. So PC platforms and
Hmm.
so on, even consoles and such. So that's currently our biggest goal of wanting to move more towards games. And our our latest release is Nay Danger.
Okay.
Yeah, and um, that's been sort of like this. If you know Jackbox games, it's similar to
Hmm.
that, where it's kind of like a mix of Jackbox games meets visual novel kind of thing.
Okay.
So
Shall we just have a
yeah,
look,
yeah, we can
and
have a look.
and then we can discuss it. Let's go.
Yeah.
Don't worry, guys. Your screens are not visible on the partner. So this is your newest creation.
Yeah.
Is the game released? Is it going to be released? Where are you at in terms of development?
So the game has been released recently.
Hmm.
You can go ahead and download the game now, actually, and play with your friends. The point of the game was built off to show people the dangers of carrying a knife. So knife crime is a very well-known thing that goes around over here,
Hmm.
um, and we were approached to make sort of like a PSA in the form of a game.
I see.
Um, and some people, quite a lot of people enjoy themselves sitting down, playing with their friends. Games of Jackbox because easy to access. One person has it, everyone else just joins with their phone, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Uh, it sounds to me like you got. So you mentioned you got reached out to make this project.
yes.
Uh,
Um,
could you touch on that a bit? How did that come to fruition? Was it through networking or maybe through previous projects?
it was through a previous project.
Hmm.
We did a similar sort of like PSA game previous to Nay Danger, which is called It Could Be Nothing. Um, and that it's three different sort of games where you where it teaches you about the dangers of like for example you're in a nightclub and there's dangers of like people drugging your drink
Hmm.
kind of thing. So that project got to reach to other um, clients
Hmm.
around, and then from that we networked and got this project, got this client
Mhm.
to do this.
Yeah, that's awesome. I feel like it's your studio appears to be making a very educational approach.
Yeah,
Like you are taking the skills at hand, and people know what projects you worked on, and the good word sort of resonates within the in between people within the industry, and you seem to be getting more and more work. And now your team grows, so I'm sure the output of the work you're producing will also grow by 50%. I suppose you'll be doing twice as much as you were, or twice as fast at least, and are
yeah,
you are you
definitely.
happy with the direction the studio is going? Is that something you expected when you got out of Transfuser?
Yeah, definitely. Honestly, this is much further than I expected than
Okay.
what we were going to head
Mhm.
towards, and this is amazing of all of the clients and the projects that we get to work on. It's very fascinating, even for me. Like I never imagined like I would end up making educational games
I
like
see.
that. It means a lot as well, which is great. It's fantastic.
I see.
And even now we we have like other IPs that we're working on at the moment.
Mhm,
Um, and we also, um, with all of these projects going on in work for hire as well that we have, they also help us fund our own original IPs that we work on. So some of the previous work for hires that we did allowed us to work on Flintlock Boom, which is our one of our own IPs. It
mhm.
helped us fund for that for almost a whole year. Um,
That's huge.
yeah,
So with all of that funding and the progress, what were you able to take out of Transfuser that helped you on that journey? Because it seems like you've done so many projects and your team is intact and it's grew, which is great. So what were you able to learn from the Transfuser experience uh, that helped you to go through it, and remain a studio who's which that is doing quite amazing.
I feel like what I learned from going through Transfuser was um, really just learning to put your games out there, whatever you're making, put everything into it, and then showcasing your game. Knowing your game is also another thing as well. Um, Scheduling yourself, learning how to work with your team,
Mhm,
especially. Um, Transfers really pushed us forward towards that kind of thing, like work ethics and timing ourselves and such.
I see. So it's sort of that gap in between a university project and well a studio project, which is a huge difference, right? It's a huge commitment.
Yeah, definitely.
Did you find it challenging going into it, or were you quite encouraged with what lies ahead? What was it like at first when you went into it, like in terms of well, I'm just thinking mentally as an artist, you are going into Transfuser. Was it something that you found quite exciting, or did you see it like as more of a challenging thing? Yeah.
It was kind of a mix of both, really. Like I remember like the first while of we went to Transfuser that it was the stress of like this feels so challenging, and like you want to just get things to like work and so on. um for me it was scheduling myself for sure.
Hmm.
um that was the first thing that I realized that I needed to like get myself going with. um but other than that, like it felt like this big adventure of
I
like
see.
there's a lot of things that I've yet to experience. And Transfreezer allowed me to do that with like making games like in VR, for
Mhm,
example,
mhm.
kind of thing.
Yeah. So when you took part in Transfuser, I believe you took part in the what is now called the enterprise pathway.
Yeah.
Yeah, you took part in the enterprise pathway. So for anyone who's not aware, you can go through our stream panels down below. If you go to the Transfuser website, there is 3 different pathways that teams can take to try to get into the industry, and the enterprise pathway is the one, well, that helps you create a studio, right? Um,
Yeah.
so creating a studio, hiring people, applications. How is the hiring process for you as a studio? Who's in charge of deciding who who joins in on the on the hype train of making all of these amazing games?
So when it comes to hiring new people, um, it's really like a joint effort all together with us. Like we look into what we require, what we need, um, and depending on the position, we set out different requirements of what that role, what people should fill in for the role, sort of thing.
Hmm.
Um, I handle more on the art side of things, being the artist myself as well.
Yeah.
Um,
So yeah.
sorry, go ahead.
And I'm just wondering, so what are the key things you look out for when you are getting another artist on board for your team? Since you've been working on various projects, honestly, you guys seem to have quite a good skill set with being able to approach variety of different projects. What are the things you look out for when in an artist that is applying? What makes a good impression on you?
For me, is definitely putting up your portfolio, um, and not being afraid to show what you can do. Um, and one of the things that I always look forward to is how accessible your portfolio is as well. You don't want to put it somewhere that's very difficult to
Yeah.
access. Um, and you want to make sure the first thing you see is something that's like it makes you go whoa, it's got that wow factor. It's like
Mhm,
that's the kind of thing that it shows that you're passionate about. So if you do 2D art, put your best like 2D art right away, for us to see on your page right away, kind of thing, on your portfolio. um, if you do visual effects,
mhm,
same thing. Show off what you can do, and make sure it's like a nice quality sort of like video for us to look at right away,
mhm.
sort of thing.
So essentially, accessibility of the content, and even though it says it's on the CV, you want to see it, and you want to see it easily and without any glitches on the screen, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Ideally, ideally. Um,
Ideally.
all right, our interview is shortly coming to a close, but few last questions. One of which is, which I asked of Tom. So Dan, if you could tell me, what is it? Is there anything that you would tell yourself and your team if you could rewind time to Transfuser, when you guys were applying? Any sort of advice you would give yourself?
um, I think I would tell myself that our team and myself, even, like, we should sit down and work our schedule,
Mhm,
and do like a run test of like how many assets and like tasks we can do per week, sort of thing. And
mhm,
then that first week, we can then gauge how long the rest of the weeks would be like, for in terms of like production planning and stuff. Because I think that was one of the things that um, we sort of lacked.
mhm,
um, Definitely sitting down together and doing the whole every day where you stand up together and tell each other what you're going to do and what you're going to achieve by the end of the day is also a really helpful thing to have
mhm.
as well. It motivates you to, like, okay, I need to get this done by
Yeah,
today,
yeah.
sort of thing.
I think that's actually quite the amazing advice. And the practice around through week, which determines, sort of helps you understand how much can we actually do,
Yeah,
rather than saying, "Oh, I can maybe get this done this week." There is
yeah,
a huge difference because you know yourself, you've done it before, and if things start if you start getting things done out of the way quicker, that's when you can readjust the schedule. But yeah, guys, I think that advice is really great to bear in mind, if you're looking to make it in the games industry. Yeah, because staying consistent and being able to deliver on time is just so important, I think.
definitely, yeah.
Right. Is there any last advice you would give to anyone going uh, into the industry who wants to make a game? Where do they start? What should they be aware of? Just few last bits of advice.
I would definitely say don't be afraid of showing what you can do,
Mhm,
because I've met a lot of people, before, artists to programmers to designers, um, that always come in sort of like either empty-handed, but they do have something that they've produced or
mhm,
made or is a work in progress. Don't ever be afraid to show what you've made. Just show it to people, and even if it's a work in progress, even if it's not polished yet, go for it. Show
mhm.
to people, show to your friends, show to, if you've got like Discord servers, even to your family. Just be passionate
Yeah,
about your works. Just show them.
yeah, awesome,
Yeah.
great, good stuff. Okay, in chat, guys, you can catch pocket-sized Hans. Here are their social links. So you got there is a Twitter, or there is Dan's Twitter, and there is the pocket-sized Hans Twitter. Um, you got quite a lot of fans in the chat, Dan, I must say. You got quite few people cheering for you. It's great to see. I'm sure it's your team supporting you.
I think so.
Right, we're gonna wrap it up here. This is gonna actually conclude our Transfuser catch up for the Games Careers week for now, but we're gonna be back with you on Tuesday, I believe. Make sure to check out all other events happening on the Games Careers week. You can see the button below the channel, and also follow us on Twitter to get updates on these live streams. And yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure talking with you, Dan. Your studio is doing amazing, and I hope it will keep doing amazing. I wish you best of luck, and it's been great chatting to you. So thank you guys for watching, and
Thank you.
thank you to Tom and Dan once again for joining us to provide us with this amazing, really really useful knowledge. Okay, take care.
Okay, take care.